Kimball, first off, really loved Hippo. First thing that Mark and I talked about was he's a huge fan of Alfred Hitchcock. So he's a
Yeah.
cinephile. I want to know for you, did you grow up being a huge movie fan, cinephile, and what was your kind of guiding light to get to where you are today as far as cinema goes?
Oh, totally. Great question. Yeah, I grew up a huge cinephile. What's funny is um, so I grew up like up until I was like 17 or 16. I wasn't allowed to watch rated R movies, and my mom and dad now would like totally change that rule because now they've seen so much. They just also didn't watch a ton at the time, but now they've seen everything, and I've kind of imposed my taste on them, and they have amazing taste. And it's not that they didn't, but so what's funny is my real gateway, my like gateway drug was first like good television, like Breaking Bad and Lost, and so after well, my first thing that like I think many actors today will have this same like hook. My first thing I remember when I was like in sixth grade or seventh grade or something, I saw The Dark Knight, and Heath Ledger's performance blew me away, and that was the first time I saw an actor like um, disappear into a role where you're like, I remember like turning it on and I was always like looking for him. Like I was like, where is Heath? Like where is Heath? And you can't find him in it. And that to me is the mark of a great performance. And so that was like when I was like, whoa, that's what acting is. And but that led to Hitchcock was a similar gateway drug for me, where it's like because his movies are so accessible, they're such great thrillers that you could turn on today. And I think because there's some kind of not really, but like among general audiences in America, like there is a slight stigma around old movies. Some people won't turn something on past 1970. And I think it's a real shame because they're missing out on like the greatest movies of all time. And so, but Alfred Hitchcock is kind of the one thing that you can get someone to sit down and watch and they'll love it. And so when I was like a teenager, I was like watching all these Alfred Hitchcock movies and that got me into old Hollywood. And then I just watched everything under the sun where it's like, because I didn't have money for acting classes because they're so expensive, I would just watch old movies and I would watch like Montgomery Clift and Marlon Brando and James Dean and like Montgomery Clift in A Place in the Sun to me is it's one of the greatest performances of all time. And then and he
Thank
did
you.
an
Yeah.
actor. Did you know that movie?
He's one of my favorite actors.
Oh my God, that's amazing. He is. I have his biography book out in the other room. He's my favorite actor of all time. I believe he was nominated for 4 Oscars, but believe he deserved to win all of them. His performance in A Place in the Sun, The Misfits,
Yeah.
Red River, The Search, everything. He's amazing. And so,
Thank you, by the way. Everyone talks about Dean. Everyone talks about Brando. And yeah, no, they're awesome, but thank you for talking about Monty as well.
dude, you are amazing. I completely agree. That's the thing, because everyone does talk about Marlon and James Dean, and like rightfully so, they're amazing. But it's like, but people do forget that, like, and no shade to either of them. I consider all three of these people like gods to me, but Montgomery Clift especially, like, he did come along first, and he was the first person that really changed, in my opinion, acting cinema because like he was not afraid to be sensitive and different and like oblique and like he's like a real enigma. And when you're watching him on screen, like there's something, and I mean this in a good way, there's sometimes something slightly off about him. And he really opened the door for James Dean and Marlon Brando because at the time acting was, Gregory Peck and Cary Grant and Humphrey Bogart, all these people I love, by the
Classic
way.
way, yeah.
Humphrey Bogart in Treasure of the Sierra Madre is amazing. And in A Lonely Place, he's incredible. And tons
Best
of movies.
performance, yeah.
Amazing. And like rightfully so, these people are amazing. But at the time, a lot of male acting was like, it's a guy in a suit and he's like, my dear, don't go in there. Like it's like people that like talk like that. But then Montgomery Clift comes along and he's just so different and human. And so then he opens the door for all these people like Jack Nicholson and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino down the line. And so he doesn't get his flowers enough, but I think he's the greatest of all time.
On that linear progression, is there that kind of sensitivity and reality? Did that influence your performance as Hippo? Because you've described him as a sociopath, and he
Yeah.
is, but there are things that happen where, as an audience member, I'm really sympathizing with what's going on. And you have that interior world that Hippo has that really immerses us into um, trying to figure out who he is. And does
Yeah.
that come from that kind of Montgomery Clift, Dean, Brando type of acting where the world is interior world? Yeah.
100%. If I think for sure, like that's something that I'm always like striving for, where it's like I hold these people to such a high regard where it's like, and Montgomery Clift was like so selective about his work that when he
Yeah.
did something, he really gave his all to it. And so that was definitely something. It's definitely something I think about whenever I go into anything. Like, how can I be as prepared as possible? And so for Hippo, like, I knew that a lot of it would be internal because, he's not loud in an external way, but there is so much going on underneath. And I think definitely Monty was a real guiding light for me in that sense, because there's something about him when you're watching him, like in A Place in the Sun and those close-ups with Elizabeth Taylor, there's like this rich internal life in his eyes. And like, or when in the scene where he's on the boat, like you can see his thoughts and like his process. And like, and so that's definitely not only something I try to do in every film, but it is something that I especially strive for in Hippo, because he is so internal.
You could also feel Monty's torment in a lot of his work, and you could feel Hippo's torment as well. Is it just a job, or is it tough to play that torment? Right?
It is tough. It is tough. It's because like you obviously like there will be a day maybe here and there where you're like playing a crazy character and maybe you're having a really good day and maybe you kind of weirdly want yourself to not be. Oh shoot, sorry.
Oh no.
I was getting a call from Scam Likely, and can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you're good. Yeah.
I gotta like disconnect my phone from my computer or something because it made my Zoom go away, but now I'm back. But there is something about that where it's like, there's a day maybe you're playing, like as of right now, I've played a lot of not crazy characters. Hippos are the craziest. I'll play a lot of, and I enjoy this, I welcome it, but I play a lot of the freaks and the misfits so far. And those to me are the most interesting characters. I think like a straight hero that's like just fully just the protagonist can be a little bit boring. Not always. It is kind of about getting yourself there. And so it can be torture sometimes. It can be work. With Hippo in particular, you're dwelling on this like kind of darker mindset a lot of the time. And you're trying to focus on it and focus on this, like these sociopathic behaviors, because you don't want to joke around and be too light. And it's not even about like being like crazy method, but it's like about being like, if you don't put yourself in that mind frame, then you're doing a disservice to the character and a disservice to the film. And if you allow yourself to get too jovial behind the scenes, which is hard because you want to be jovial and you want to be there connecting with everyone. But at the same time, with a dark character like this, you feel like you can't be like laughing, having a blast 1 second, and then immediately like, okay, camera's up. It's, like, let's do it. And then go into some like dark scene. So you want to live there as much as possible. And so it was a lot of dwelling on that, and it can be torture. And it does stick with you a little bit, but you almost want it to, so you can try to do as much of a service to the character as possible.
Kimball, this is a wrap, so thank you so much for your time. Just very quickly, how cool is it now that you and Mark are such close friends and you have high standards for filmmaking? Is it tough to go against the grain? And what's the joy in going against that grain and being true to yourselves? And thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. It's honestly, like it's a blessing and a curse, because we have these like you want to. As a perfectionist, it's such a struggle as an artist, because you want everything to be perfect. And as an actor, you want everything to be perfect. And as a filmmaker, you want everything to be perfect. And it's so hard. There was like some really good quote, I forget who said it, but it's like, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. And so it's like, sometimes it's about like throwing the perfectionism out the window, but still striving for it. And I think like, it really comes down to like, similar to how we talked about Montgomery Clift, like, reaching for your heroes and trying to touch where they've touched, and bringing that to everything you make. And if you can make something for that audience of one that's yourself, then there will be other people that connect with it. And for me, it's like about always going for what would I want to see and what would my heroes want to see, and striving for that. And it's hard sometimes, but I think it's like that's where the most rewarding work is, and hopefully the work that connects with people the most as well.
Kimball, thank you so much for your time. I love Hippo very, very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything. And thank you. I would talk about movies with you forever.
I know. We got to go. But very quickly, Culver City, California, here on Jefferson Boulevard, there's a condominium place called Raintree Condominiums in Culver City. That's where MGM shot the Monty Clift, Elizabeth Taylor film, Raintree County. So when you Google Raintree in Culver City, it's a whole bunch of condominiums. People live there, and that's exactly the MGM lot where they shot that Monty Clift movie. Just
no way.
I'll
be there in a week. I want to go see this.
Yeah. So Raintree Condominiums, just FYI. So
you're the best. Oh man,
right. Thank you, man.
We're gonna talk about Montgomery Clift for an hour.
Yeah, we'll do. Not on their dime though. So I apologize for you over there listening. So I apologize.
No worries.
Okay.
I love you, man. Have a good
Love you
one.
too, man. Take care.